Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It is the 16th of November, and I have no clue what is going on. I am not having the best day already. Like, man. Baby woke up at like 3, 4 in the morning and was just crying and unhappy. And then when the alarm went off, I was like surprised. I was like, what? No, it can't be time to wake up now. And then, there was a pretty good bump up on the weekend, and it looks like there was another bump up here in the morning. I have not had the chance to read the news yet. So let's come over here. Okay, first, what is CNBC saying? Okay, Dow futures jump 500 points as Moderna says it has a highly effective COVID vaccine as well. That's really it. I'm just kind of like, how many times can you have a really huge 500 point jump on vaccine news? I'm starting to get a little bit like, okay. I kind of suspected, though, that maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's why people were buying into Friday's close. So we want to come over here. I'm going to go to Rand Squawk, or their blog, and because I usually read that in the morning, but yeah, that's like how messed up I am right now. Value outperforming growth once again while European bourses are off highs. President-elect Biden is poised to speak today on plans for post-COVID economic recovery and longer-term growth. Much later in the day, though, President Trump reported plans for the last-minute crackdown on China and will act a series of hard-line policies in his final weeks. That's not good. Officials caution of a crisis if Hungary, Poland vetoes the EU budget recovery fund amid reports of vetoes due to rule of law issues. FX sees the dollar modestly firmer.
At 8:30 a.m. Eastern
Okay.
the New York Fed
Now I need to come in. I can see that oil has moved over. So let's manage your databases. Roll over Bitcoin and oil.
0%. We also have ECB's Merch speaking at the Official Monetary and Financial Institutions Forum. However,
how is Bitcoin? Still hugging those highs. Okay, let's go and look at the charts. All right, so yeah, here on the E-mini. So pretty aggressive move up in the afternoon on Friday, and now boom and boom. It's actually still not above the high from last Monday, which was kind of on vaccine news, right? So maybe it's not so crazy for them to bump up again on it. Treasury is taking a dump on that news. Interesting that the Treasuries didn't really want to go when on the open, but then on the Moderna news they did. Oil running with it. Gold getting obliterated because of that. Ooh. Every time in oil, man. Those slips. All right, and copper doing really well. Kappa doing amazing. Okay. So that's kind of our context here. Now it looks like Donald Trump is doing stuff too. What's he going on about? Dominion is running our election. It is rigged. Dominion machines engineered by China, Venezuela, and Cuba. That's nothing. Detroit Dominion IT worker describes exactly how poll workers inflated Biden vote tallies in a video. A man named Peter Nefenger, a retired admiral, is president and listed on the board of directors of Smartmantic, which created the software for Dominion. Oh, this is the guy in the transition team. Arguing about their lawsuits. Let's just come over. I'm just going to come over here and check the Donald here really quick. Oh, we should turn on the text to speech too, shall we? Yes. Bum, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. In 2010, a small election in New Jersey was overturned because officials programmed the Sequoia machine incorrectly. This is from Dominion. Flipping the vote totals, Dominion is the Fall Guy election officials cheated manually. So it seems like maybe they think they're onto something, but I haven't seen like the big shoe yet. Oh, let's come back over here. How are you guys?
1 minute remaining. I've read the New York Fed manufacturing.
It ran like 100 points already from my last buy scalp trades without me. That's crazy, guys. Yeah. I'm sitting on Bitcoin profit. Definitely want to sell. Not sure if to sell 50 or 75% of the position. I'm leaning towards 75 with a trailing stop. Okay, so what level is overvalued for me? It's overvalued. So 200 is basically where we're at right now. So these are the levels that like Bitcoin has never been able to hold. But I would tell you that one of the things I've noticed is that it's not just it getting to overvalued. There also seems to be like some seasonality timing to it. Like they tend to try and run all through October and November and then puke like at the end of the year.
6.30, that's lower than the forecast of 12.75.
Let's see here. Empire State Manufacturing Index coming in much lower than expected, and it looks like the mini may be going down a little bit off of that. It ran ahead of futures, so technically it should reverse first. Sell the gap? No, I don't know, man. So let's think this through. We don't want to buy something just because other people are buying it. Other people were buying the gap. It seems clear now that the reason they were buying the gap is because of the Moderna vaccine. Now that we've had the Moderna vaccine and that is priced into the market, what do we have to look forward to? Well, and manufacturing data was bad. There's concerns about China tightening. There's concerns about fiscal stimulus. There's concerns about fiscal stimulus in Europe. Yeah, I actually think that maybe shorts here might make sense. Yeah, Vlad tends to tell us a lot. This is where here's the bias that we fall into, right? Is you'll get into this mode where you want to analyze every teeny little piece of data, and the latest piece of data ends up being the most important to you when that's not necessarily the reality. And that might be happening to the market as a whole right now, that we just know that the market moves so much off of vaccine news that we think the Moderna news is really big, even though we basically knew that we were going to get a good vaccine one way or another. Well, I don't know. I feel that at the moment, at least, is not a very good place to take trades for me. It's being quite slow. I think that we might be able to pull something out off of the open. I haven't been trading super great lately, so I'm kind of like hyper suspicious about all this. I think that what we should do, I have some food. I did not. I'm like just so disorganized this morning. So let's eat this oatmeal. And then I think that there's a couple of little things about the market that I want to investigate. I'm interested in this correlation stuff that we were talking about. Kind of had a couple of thoughts about it after the stream when we were talking about it. Maybe some things that we might discover about the correlations that might be useful to us. So we'll look at that. Friday had buy-in balance in a close to that indicator, and think or swim SPY news keeps working. Well, but right now they look like they're coming back. Like 36.13 is the buyer's cost basis. So I would expect that if buyers really want to run this out and hold it, that they're going to try and make it bounce there.
Nigeria is
So let's keep an eye on all this.
Reference number to
And I will eat the food, all right?
Production of Agbami is around 160k, sources tell. And we've just posted the New York Fed manufacturing full report on the Financial Juice feed if you'd like to have a read. Energy Intel Deputy Bureau Chief Bakker says Nigeria is looking to revise their OPEC reference number to pre-Agbami levels. The production of Agbami is around 160k, sources tell.
So this is interesting here. Walter Bloomberg, UCB's DeVos, I think that they misspelled that, says foreign exchange moves between US dollar and the euro is something to worry about. Well, the dollar is getting stronger. Related? Maybe? Moderna announces longer shelf life for its vaccine. Expected to remain stable at standard refrigerated temps of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius for 30 days. Shipping in long-term conditions at standard freezer temps.
ECB's DeCosta says it would be desirable to see banking consolidation within the Eurozone. And we have just posted the Canadian manufacturing sales reports on the Financial Juice feed if you'd like to have a read.
Okay, so good thought, Brandon. How long do you think it will take to vax the whole country? Well, first of all, I don't think that they're going to. I mean, there's a lot of people that are just going to be really resistant to getting vaccinated about this, and frankly, I don't blame them, because they don't really need to be vaccinated. There's like almost zero risk of them suffering severe complications from it. No. They're going to give the vaccine to the vulnerable people. So that's what I would expect first, is vulnerable people get the vaccine. And probably there's going to be other countries that will be getting the vaccine.
Francis Collins says 2 more vaccines.
And I would hope at least that they're able to get through that before February. And our understanding with the plan, the military has a plan and everything, and they should be able to distribute it very quickly. So the real bottleneck is how much they can produce. They might mandate on a state basis. Well, some states might mandate, that's true.
On Brexit says the UK government is united behind negotiating.
I don't think that it's constitutional to force people to take a vaccine. I really don't.
UK's PM Johnson spokesman on Brexit says...
How can you have a Supreme Court decision that says that it's a woman's body and she can abort her baby if she wants to, but then on the same hand make a ruling that says that the government can force you to inject chemicals into your body? It's not going to work. I don't think that would hold up. And certainly not in our current Supreme Court, right? You think events like concerts. So, yeah, you're asking some good questions. I'm not necessarily the most qualified person to answer these things, but I can speculate, right? The government won't make us do it. Companies will. Now that's an interesting thought too, Uzi. That your company will say that in order to work, you need the vaccine. That might be true. Now, for things like concerts, I think that you might see concerts come back in the summer, but for people in the entertainment industry, I think that they're probably going to have trouble for several years. Okay. Watching this here. Oh, something's wrong. That's really weird. Oh, I know why. Well, I'm on the wrong workspace. It's been the trend for the last 6 years. Companies are dictating our behavior at similar levels to laws and governments using terms of service and community guidelines. Well, maybe that's a little bit extreme, trying to compare what happens on the internet to what's happening in the rest of the country, but you're not wrong. And NIO earnings tomorrow. That stock, I don't give a fuck about that one. I get on TikTok and everybody's talking about NIO. You know what? You're all way too hyper focused on the stupid electric vehicle market. I just Call me nuts when it requires vaccination papers to go into the... Well, I'm not gonna speculate on that one. I'm not gonna speculate on that one. I mean, it's not like the larger point that you're making doesn't have some merit, Uzi. For sure. There's definitely, I am really upset at how Google and Facebook and all of them, I mean, Facebook has been the best on all of this, which is really quite crazy to think about that Mark Zuckerberg, or the thing that's funny about this, the left is treating Mark Zuckerberg like some right-wing radical because he won't censor the Trump administration. And, but Mark is not a conservative. He's not. But remember, there was that whole thing about how he was traveling the country and he had those conversations with both right-wing and left-wing political groups and things like that. I think that he did his research. He's been talking to people and he's doing what he knows is right, and I think he's doing a good job, and more power to him. But Google and Twitter in particular, screw Twitter, man. Is that going to result in you having to show them your papers at the grocery store? I mean, that seems like a pretty extreme extension of all of that, but let's just say that you have some merit to your argument that companies are exerting more control over over our lives than I think that they should be allowed to.
Vlad Stolyarov says papers, please as a game. Uzi Knesset says culture is where extremes become normalized. After it requires vaccination papers to partake in culture, most people will be comfortable with needing a vaccine to purchase food. Vlad Stolyarov says papers, please as a game. Tom Barnard says once we reach tech singularity, humans will be treated like cows.
New York City Mayor de Blasio, we have to reevaluate indoor dining. Coming over the Twitters now.
Vlad Stolyarov says for stocks. Vlad Stolyarov says Interactive Brokers allows selling 4 a.m. Vlad Stolyarov says so whoever shorted Neo at 4 a.m. is smart, slightly smiling face. Uzi Knesset says the entire pandemic has demonstrated how much people are willing to give away. The overwhelming majority of people won't have an issue with it. Tom Barnard says I only have chips and Coke for breakfast.
Oh, you gotta fix that, Tom. You gotta have a full breakfast in the morning, man. That's really important, especially getting some carbs because your brain requires the carbs, man. You know, it's funny because people really only think about the short-term impacts of things on themselves. You know, like to me, I don't have a problem taking the vaccine. I know some people that are vulnerable. I think that I should get the vaccine. And I don't think there's anything harmful in it. But there's long-term impacts on this. Allowing businesses to deny you entry based on whether or not you've taken a vaccine, that's dangerous precedent. because now they can limit you for any reason. No, I don't think that should be allowed. But you know that somebody's going to try it. That's the thing that's startling. Is Walmart going to do it?
Origin
No,
code
but
says Uzi. That same group will have no problem once we reach tech singularity being treated like cows lol.
maybe.
Uzi Knesset says getting the vaccine voluntarily is different from being forced to do it over time. The latter will happen. It already is.
I still say that
Justin Carroll says I would hope it would be challenged in the Supreme Court or something.
yeah, exactly.
Justin Carroll says if a company required it.
I still say that there are a lot of things going on in our society, and I guess that this goes the same for disease control, but I was always really thinking more about social media in this regard. I think that people are going to look back on this era 50 to 100 years from now and will be shocked that these sorts of things were allowed. Just like we're shocked when we look at how World War II went down and how things happened with Nazis. Because in my view, even though I know that it's really not as serious, and so using this word is not really appropriate, but it's really the only comparison that you make is that we're seeing like an internet holocaust where they're literally trying to eliminate an entire group of people from online discussion. And I do think that in 50 to 100 years from now, that people are going to be shocked that we allowed corporations to have that kind of influence. It's like when the corporation can control what you can say or can't say, that's a problem. All arguments would be shut down with my private company, but there are plenty of situations where we regulate what a company can do for the greater public good. Phones being a good example. The telephone company can't just cut you off from service because they don't like you. And the common carrier argument really should extend to social media companies. They're going to put every bit of power that they can into preventing that from ever affecting them, but I think the situation is such that it's inevitable. Because here's the thing, right now, it started with just conspiracy theorists, and that kind of got the whole right wing kind of uppity about it, and now it's like the whole right wing is being censored, and that's all fine and dandy until you get Joe Biden in power. Because here's the thing. The left doesn't like these big corporations. I mean, they do and they don't. This is the thing that's so funny is that Google, in particular, has really become like the power base there. Google and Amazon, and they're like controlling everybody. But the Democrat base don't like those guys. The Democrat base doesn't like Facebook. And at what point does the wrong liberal get censored and now everybody is upset about it? It's inevitable. It's inevitable that something is going to have to be done about it. The big corporations and all of their lobbyists cannot oppose the majority of the US populace and win. It's just the way that democracy works. There's a limit, and it's just only kind of now getting to the point where people are even thinking about it.
From a Reuters article, Inovio Pharmaceuticals, ticker INO, has received US health regulators clearance to begin a mid-stage study of its COVID-19 vaccine candidate. The trial for the vaccine, NIO 4800, will be funded by the US Department of Defense.
Okay, so let's focus here a little bit.
Just a heads up.
We're still getting some aggressive pushing on the sell side, but the buyers seem to be absorbing it up pretty well. There was a lot of volume in that area earlier. I mean, the point of control is still below us, 3609, and that's from before the news. I'm not too sure about the bounce. The treasuries did bounce, though. Like hard bounce off cost basis. The 10 years being a pill. So let's I'm gonna kill Ninja Trader here. Ninja Trader, man, when I get into back testing Ninja Trader, man, some of the data sets, I guess, oh my gosh, some of the data sets that I'm trying to test, I guess, are just too big and can't like all fit in memory. And so it's always like just falling apart on me. Biden hires an economic team with a focus on systemic racism. Oh, that's been all over the place on his cabinet, man. The politics of what's going on are so interesting to me because it just seems to me like especially on the left, they're implementing a lot of policies that you should just expect there to be severe pushback on. Like severe backlash is I think the correct term, right? If you go in and you try to implement what is affirmative action kinds of policies at every level of the government and economic policy, I don't think people are going to be happy about that. People don't like, it's that experiment. You've ever seen that experiment where you got these two monkeys in the cage, and so the one monkey does the task and they get, a treat that they really, really like. And then the other monkey does a task and they get the treat that they don't like as much. And the monkey would normally be perfectly fine with getting that treat, but because he sees the monkey next to him getting the better treat, he throws a temper tantrum. You ever seen that? It's just so dumb, I think, from a psychology perspective, to say, oh, we need to implement affirmative action at every level of the government. And yet that's what Joe Biden is doing. It seems to me that Joe Biden was never really a policy guy, if we can say it that way. He always was the kind of politician that did what the advisors and stuff were telling him to do. And in this case, the far left is telling him we need to have affirmative action everywhere. But I guess, it has implications for what we do here in the markets, doesn't it? The U.S. 10-year was at 0.89% pre the Moderna vaccine news. Oh yeah, we have to. I have to remember. Was it? It's down here. 050 was where I had calculated the 1%. That's probably drifted by now. Okay, let's see if NinjaTrader is more cooperative with us here. Let's close that workspace. Morgan Stanley says go risk on and trust the recovery in 2021. And Citigroup favors aggressive bet on UK stocks over US peers. I'm just having so many thoughts. Like every little bit of information that comes in, I'm like, oh, okay. So on this one, I'm just thinking, have you guys been reading the analyst reports lately, or at least, the media's analysis of them? Probably the best place to see that kind of stuff is Zero Hedge. Although if anybody knows of another place where you can get that kind of story, I would love to know about it. But I have never seen so much contradiction. So much contradiction. And it really seems to me like that some of these scenarios that analysts expect to play out are incredibly myopic. When this bumped up last night, because I was really thinking, okay, if we're going to have lockdowns, that might hit the futures, depending on how bad it gets over the weekend and what they start saying in New York. Like if they close the schools down, I think that's going to have a nasty impact. And then instead, it was Moderna vaccine was what was pushing them, It says 3611. No. So let's try collaborating here a little bit. Yeah. So I don't want to say no, you can't do it or anything, but I'm just going to give you my opinion here. Right now, 3611 is the low end of the range. It's a little bit, it's not very good risk reward wise, and it's in a position that buyers are going to try and defend. I think that right now I'm not too confident in the way that the action is behaving. I would maybe normally I would be looking for a long at 36.12.25. But since we're getting a little bit of a mix here and we're not sure, I think that we should just say no trade. Here in Michigan, they're closing high schools, college, restaurants, bars starting Wednesday. Yes. And people are really upset. I mean, Michigan has been so strict. This is the thing that I don't understand this mentality at all. They've been the strictest and they still have to shut down. I keep hearing people tell me, well, if we had done X and Y, then we wouldn't be in such a problem. But it seems pretty clear to me that you shut down, it doesn't stop it. Remember when Michigan banned buying seeds? Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. That one was really crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you're going to lock everybody home, and then you're going to tell them that they can't do anything that would allow them to actually be productive while they're in home. Like, you literally just want them to sit at home drunk all day or something. That's what a lot of people did for a while, wasn't it? Though I hope you're all over that now. Makes me upset. I don't think that I think my sister would still be here if it wasn't for the lockdown. How many strict COVID measures have to have their efficacy completely disproven by the fact that COVID is resurging before people acknowledge the measures don't do anything? Yeah, I don't think that they don't do anything, but I don't think that they're able to do what its proponents claim. But to that point, Uzi, we were all saying, once the election is over, then they will give up on that and it will be back to normal. And that hasn't happened. So I think that it is very much the case that these people really believe it.
ECB's merch says that
Farin? Is that an Indian name? I need to, my monitor here is a little tilted. Yeah, do you remember the headlines a few months ago about how the COVID measures have all but eradicated this year's flu season? But then didn't they find out that that wasn't the case and it was just that they weren't being categorized or whatever? I didn't follow that one very well. Scott Adams tweeted something funny. I'm not going to repeat it though. Oh, just say Fahrenheit. Oh, okay. Okay. I heard from an evolutionist that COVID is way nastier and invasive than people think. I think that with all of these things, there is a lot of nuance that that the larger public isn't able to grasp. There are some things about coronavirus that are really quite unique and special. But the death rate is not what we thought it was either. So it's kind of like trying to figure out what that should mean to public policy is really difficult. I mean, how could COVID measures all but eradicate the flu season, but not the COVID season? Yeah. Yeah, totally. But, I mean, some of these places might not have a quick choice, guys. Like, if your hospital is out of space, I guess it's not even out of space, but I thought capacity is maybe not necessarily the right word because you have to have enough healthcare workers too. Okay. But if your healthcare system is overburdened by it, you kind of have to shut down. Otherwise, the death rate skyrockets. And no decked sulfur, vitamin D, and masks actually help, though limit the spread, more damage from long shutdowns, devastating. I think you're probably right, Ted. I don't know how to wait. Let me read that one and see how it tries to read it.
Says the independent review is to be launched on payment
actually
infrastructure.
Help, though. Limit spread. More damage from long shutdowns, devastating.
You think that they're inflating the COVID numbers with flu symptoms? Maybe. So masks do limit the spread. Every piece of scientific evidence that we have on this shows that masks do help. The issue is that masks. Oh, why am I shouldn't be letting you guys hear that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be letting you guys hear that. The masks limit the spread, but the masks are not 100% effective. And I think that there was this line of thinking among people that if we all wear a mask and we all socially distance, that we will crush the virus. And I think that was naive. For one thing, we've known for a long time that there is some degree of airborne transmission wherein the virus becomes aerosolized, and once it becomes aerosolized, the mask isn't going to stop it. So having the mask on, it's going to prevent you from getting the water droplets kind, and that is useful, but it's not going to completely stop the spread in its tracks. Whoa, Sweden bans public events of more than 8 people. Local, don't go to the gym, don't go to the library, don't have dinners, don't have parties, cancel, he said. That's in Sweden. They're the ones that have refused to do any kind of measures of that nature. We increased capacity in New York and they did not even use it. I guess they had plenty of nursing homes instead. Well, yeah, but that's where I'm saying, like, do you get what I'm trying to say with the nuance argument here? Because I don't want us to be talking past each other. Maybe you guys just aren't focused on what I'm focused on. But the argument that I'm trying to make here is that all of these measures that have been taken do help and do work, but they were all done with an assumption that they would crush the virus, and that if we could crush the virus, that it would be done and over, and then we would get the vaccine and everybody would be fine. And that was always naive. The transmissibility of this virus was as such that crushing the virus was never a viable strategy. That's my point. So in New York, they did the lockdown. The lockdown was really effective. They try opening back up. When you open back up, you're going to start seeing more cases again. And you can't keep everything shut down until February. People would starve. People in the third world are already starving. We're lucky. Yeah. Crushing the virus was a dumb idea. And in fact, I would even say this. It would have been better that they, places like New York in particular, these Democrat areas, like let me just be like that, open about it. Like, it's a political thing. These Democrat areas should have opened sooner. They should have allowed more cases to come through in the summer and built up as much herd immunity as they could in the summer to try and reduce the impact that this would have when the flu season came along. And now, because they have not done that, we're going to experience the full brunt of the flu season, and I'm concerned that some places will have no choice but to shut down, and that it will have very severe economic consequences. Lockdowns are ineffective because people are bottlenecked into ordering stuff online, package delivered by what? People who are immune to COVID? The fact that they never stopped a meal and shipping was a big red flag. No. But that's where again, it's like, shutdowns did reduce the number of cases, and the summer reduced the number of cases. It's just, it comes back. Right? Like, in order to reduce the spread, you have to take extremely drastic action that is simply not sustainable for a year. How many papers on Corona have you read? Oh man, I've read a lot of papers on it, actually, and particularly papers about the spread itself. We're seeing stuff on the news all the time, and you know what really drives me crazy? This pisses me off. Is there will be a news story about a study of some sort, and they don't link to the study. And then you're like, they don't even say what the name of it was, and you have to go and find it. Oh yeah, that's really annoying. But we've seen that. I don't think that what I'm saying about that these measures have been effective to an extent is not controversial, is it? I think that the majority of the evidence that we have seems to show that they do have impacts. Is just that, like, it's not sustainable. Like there's, there was that analysis from, was it JP Morgan, I think last week, where they said that the countries that like really locked down versus the ones that didn't lock down so much, that there really wasn't a whole lot of a difference. And I was pointing out that, yeah, because people still self-isolate and stuff, and they still put out all of the same health measures. And so the reality is that you can flatten the curve without having to be draconian about it. But at the same time, it's pretty hard to deny that there was a huge surge of cases in New York in the early winter. They shut down, it died down, they're opening back up, and you're having a huge rise of cases again. And they can't just, so what do? You stay shut down the whole time? That's not realistic. They should have this. The most dangerous thing that we did was try to crush the virus. Crush the virus was unrealistic, and it led to expectations that are just going to make it worse. Anyways, we did see the E-mini bounce off of our line. It was a little slow. I don't think that I would have gotten 16 ticks out of it. Maybe I should have traded that. I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical, not skeptical, suspicious about the action right now. Oh, Ace says, yeah, thanks for that heads up on that bottom. I did go long and I'm in the black. Good job. Do you think COVID is a natural or a man-made virus? I don't know anymore, man. I haven't seen anything on that for a long time. It's kind of funny that the whole debate over where it came from kind of disappeared. And I don't think that they ever found like, an origin, you know what I mean? Like they were all trying to find what the animal that had it or the strain that was the closest, and I don't think they ever found it. There is now a considerable amount of evidence that suggests that it did indeed escape from the Wuhan center. You can't prove it, and China has not been cooperating, so you definitely can't prove it. But there is some evidence of that. So, but how can we know? We can't. Unknowable for us. Is that in the same pile of evidence for voter fraud? It actually is kind of a similar sort of an issue, isn't it? At least at the moment. At the moment, you have a lot of things with voter fraud where you could say, well, there's a lot of suspicious things, and how does that come through? And is it possible that there was voter fraud? And I'd say that there's a really good chance that there was some significant voter fraud. But as of yet, I haven't seen it proven in a court of law. They keep saying that they've got more, though. So did you see today? Today the story was that a worker, an engineer, I believe it was, from the Dominion vote counting company, whatever, was acting as a whistleblower and was explaining how officials could rig the vote count in places. But that still wouldn't prove that it happened, right? At that point, I think that to prove that it happened, you would either have to have a whistleblower that said, yes, we did that, or B, do a recount and find that it was wrong. Do a hand count. Now, in some places, they are doing a hand, like in Georgia, they're doing hand count, right? So at least in Georgia, if there was anything, fishy going on with the ballots, then that would catch it. I don't think that they're going to be doing that in Pennsylvania, although I think that they should, frankly. And all of those states, I think they should do a hand count. But then there's the issue of the mail-in voter fraud, and that's a completely different issue. The time to believe something is when there is sufficient evidence. So I think that you're confusing the difference between enough evidence to prove something versus enough evidence to warrant further investigation. I think that if you go in and you find out that in Nevada there's 12,000 people registered to vote that can't prove residency, that is cause for further investigation. Right? Attorney Sidney Powell is all over these voter machine issues. She is not wrong. Yeah. Well, it's really hard. We're once again stuck in that area where there's a lot of things that we just can't know. You got a bunch of people like Sidney Powell, who is not a pushover, talking about, that they've got stuff and that they're just not putting it out yet because it's going to come out when it's at trial and they don't want to give the opposition time to, the heads up. But then we don't know anything about what they've got. It might be totally overhyped. I'm all about further investigation. Well, when you say further investigation hasn't shown any signs of widespread fraud, correct? I don't think that they've really done that much investigation. That's the thing, is that the only investigation that we have seen, that I have seen, has all been on the side of the Donald Trump campaign, collecting affidavits from people and starting court cases. I don't see the FBI doing an investigation or anything like that. At some point it has to end, you would think. Ace was the one that segued us onto that. But you don't know if the FBI has been looking into it. The FBI has not announced as such. If the FBI is conducting a widespread investigation into voter fraud, then it would be beneficial to the public for them to state as such. I mean, this is the whole thing behind trading, though, right? If I had to wait for provable information that the index was going to move up or down in a certain direction before I could take it, you would never be able to make a trade, right? And there are certain points at which you have to make a decision based off of incomplete information and make a decision based on chance. Now in the E-mini, Ace is saying now a short isn't maybe in order. I do kind of like it. I'm just thinking, last time this happened, they just sold it right out of the gate, right? 15. Well, it's already through that. feel like a little late here.
Gary Rich says these markets are all about the vaccine data between now and Jan.
Okay, so answer me this. How can it be about the vaccine data between now and Jan when, like, what more information are we going to find out about it that actually would make a measurable difference to the U.S. economy? Now that we know that we have like 2 viable vaccines. This is something that I find confusing. Is like the market taking this huge jump up on every vaccine headline. It seems to me that either you know that there's a vaccine and that's the end effect of it, or the impacts of these news are extremely temporary and it's just traders overreacting. In which case has 2 vastly different ways that we should be trading that, right? Yeah, all the other companies will release their studies. There are 5 major companies, yes. Donald Trump, another vaccine announced. For those great historians, please remember that these great discoveries, which will end the China plague, all took place on my watch, tweets Donald Trump. Yeah, the market is dumb and reacts to the smallest bits of news. Day traders, news catalyst, woo, yeah. It's true, 50 Ghosts. The market can, sometimes they overreact to news and sometimes they underreact to news, and there doesn't seem to be any real true logic behind it. Oh, okay, so I'm still not following you, Gary. So Gary says, if 2 or 3 vaccines come out and approved viable, the markets will run. The assumption is that we'll all get back to work. How is that not already the assumption right now? You get what I mean? Like, if a 3rd vaccine came out, what is it that I know about the recovery that I didn't know before? Why does having a 3rd one make a difference? Okay, well, they came back up. I feel this is a little risky. Yeah, that didn't fill me. I'm just wondering, now that we have the vaccines, how Biden can mess us up, says Live Action, right? It really is kind of funny that they're going through all this. Okay, Biden's going to release his plan and stuff. And it's like, okay, like, what is he going to do that's different? I don't get it. I guess we'll find out today, right?
Not Debt Sulfur says availability maybe. Current
Okay.
concerns that it will take long for everyone to get them.
Maybe. How many doses do each one of those people expect to be able to make?
Gary Rich says no vaccines have not been approved yet. One vaccine is not going to solve everyone. There will be many vaccines. Not Debt Sulfur says more producers faster recovery.
Can you quantify that for me? Or well, I'm not. I guess what I'm asking more is, can we quantify it? Is it quantifiable? Can we literally go in and say, okay, well, now that we know that this person's vaccine works, that's X thousand more doses, which will have this net impact on the economy based on the number of people that will be able to get back to work or whatever, to find out how much that actually matters, so that we can determine if the news reactions that we're seeing are actually appropriate or not. Because I kind of feel like, we're at all-time highs and we're moving like that. Seems a little crazy to me. Especially since we did this last Monday. And we all know how last week went, right? Look at that. Ba-boom.
Not Det Selfer says sounds like a good quant question.
Okay, what the was that?
Ace Trades says 2 min. Gary Rich says all the biotech companies are ready to release their vaccine when approved. It's in the 100s of million doses waiting to release.
Did you you caught that one, yeah? Yes. I just took my straight profit, but and I think I was kind of lucky about where I caught it, but what was that? That was kind of maybe I just caught a freak move.
Ace Trades says yes, 2 points. Now flat.
Good. That must have just been a freak move. But we've been getting a lot of those lately too, haven't we?
Gary
think that
Rich
a buyer
says just
might
like
have
last
given up.
week with the 5% run. Every time I'm looking to get short.
Really? Well, that makes me feel a little bit better, Gary, because I'm not preparing to get short every time. I'm not that confident about it, but every time I'm looking at this, I'm like, I don't see how they maintain that.
Rob Farley says morning all. Hope everybody had good weekend.
Tyson Food employees COVID-19 tracking algorithms at meat packing plants. Okay. Now we have coronavirus tracking algorithms.
Ace Trades says at Rob Farley morning. Great weekend.
Financial Times tweets U.S. pharmaceutical group Johnson & Johnson is launching a UK trial of its experimental COVID-19 vaccine. I haven't heard anything from Financial Juice in a while, by the way. That's interesting.
Rob Farley says guesses that was Seth typing. He is way past then single finger method.
Yeah. I am. I type pretty fast.
Ace Trades says at Rob Farley he has a filter that eliminates the typical typing sound. Live Action says NY Mayor de Blasio's daughter says Biden stole election.
No, that was silly. I saw
Ace
that.
Trades says at Rob Farley it now sounds like a bunch of bunnies running over grass.
What do they call that? A something slip? Freudian slip? There's been a lot of Freudian slips from the Democrats about election fraud, hasn't there?
RJ Wheels says oh there that's Powell source. Live Action says why.
Could be. That's the funny thing with it, trying to analyze the evidence supposedly coming out of the Trump diehards is like, how do you know if they really have something or if it's their own bias reading more into it than is actually there, you know? So like the other day, Scott Adams was having a conversation with somebody and he was saying, well, this conversation is kind of funny because I know something and you don't know something. And yeah, we'll just see what happens over the next few days and we'll see how you process it, was what Scott Adams was saying. This was like on Friday or Saturday. And so you're sitting there like, okay, so does Scott Adams actually know? He seems like the kind of person that he wouldn't be saying something like that unless he actually thought that he had something. But then even if he actually thought he had something, you have to wonder, okay, but does he actually have something even though he thinks he does? Or maybe he was told something by somebody else that wasn't true and they misrepresented what it was. You know, it's just like, we don't know because we don't know what the piece of information is. You see, this is why there's markets, because there's no other way to sort out when you know something and somebody else doesn't, and they know something that you don't, and who knows what is the actual real picture. You can't say because you don't actually know what they know. If you knew everything, then maybe you could calculate it. But we don't know everything. The more we know, the more it seems that we realize that we don't know anything. I do that with backtesting all the time. Like every time that I backtest, I learn something about, oh, okay, here's something that I got to be careful about. Like I'll do a backtest and it seems really good. I'm like, well, that can't be right. So I start digging deep into it. Okay, why is it able to come out like that? Which winners are giving me this? Was this really realistic? And then you start to learn, oh, okay, yeah. Well, that one wouldn't work because the beginning of the bar was in a fast area, and so you probably wouldn't have gotten that price. You know, it's just like it never ends.
Gary Rich says the markets are up due to Moderna vaccine info.
Well, I think that at the very least we do know, yes. So they're pushing down pretty good here. You think they can make it to 35.97? I kind of like that little turn there, but I don't know if I should be trying to play that one. That's the one thing chart bar by bar guys never account for is speed. Yeah, well, so I was thinking about that because somebody posted a pretty good back here. Let me show you. We'll talk about it. Maybe he's watching. Maybe he knows us. I can only hope. I don't think he does so. I think it was on the algo trading subreddit. I'm gonna try and look away here for a little bit because here we go. Here's the guy actually. Oh, he's already responded back to us. All right, here we go. All right, so where is it? Now, where is it? The picture. Ah, here's the picture. So here's this guy's backtest. It's not bad. So it's $113,000. It's a max drawdown of $56,000. But like the Sharpe ratio is 0.7, so that's not terrible on percentage wise. And it's profitable more than 50% of the time. And your average trade is pretty big though, right? So he's getting like just shy of 10 points on each trade, which is a lot. He's got a note, is good sample size up in 3,000. That's not bad. Average time in the market, 30 minutes. Okay, so it's kind of a swinger. Catches pretty big moves. But look at what he's doing over here. So he's doing like he's incorporating one tick of slippage. He is incorporating the commissions. And he has tick replay on. So he's doing 5-minute bars for the whole year. He has tick replay on. And I was like, how did you even get that to run? Because I can't even get that to run. When I try running anything, Like it's so, man, the tick replay is so frustrating to me back testing right now. It crashes. Even if I run like a week's worth of data, it crashes on me. Yeah. With these trials data coming out, these COVID internet stocks are rotating out and more recession sectors are being bought. The NASDAQ is showing us the way. So you think that the value rotation is going to continue then, huh? So it was really interesting seeing everybody talk about it last week, like, oh, it's happening. And then it wasn't happening. Like it happened for one day and then it went away. And now I think that they're kind of saying, oh, it's coming back. So they just needed more. I don't know. It's interesting. Back to this. Yeah. So I was just really surprised that he had tick replay on. So I was like, how do you even get that to work? Right. And he said this: to make the backtest as accurate as possible, you need to backtest your strategies with every tick possible. It's the only way to get accurate intrabar fills and stops. I see many people making the mistake by ignoring this and only looking at bar opens and closes, which is crazy in my opinion and makes the backtest useless. Even added one tick data series as a strategy, as Ninja Trader suggests, to get the most accurate results. Okay, so what he's saying isn't wrong. It's just that it kind of depends, right? Like if you're doing a strategy that, well, like for instance, really good example. We're doing a strategy that wants to buy at the moving average if the moving average gets crossed. Okay. For a strategy like that, if you really want it to get there, you're going to want to like put a limit stop order of some sort, a stop limit order of some sort, or you're going to wait for it to cross it and then stick a limit order in there. And the exact price is going to matter. If you want to do it at a strategy that calculates on bar close, that's going to be an issue because the cross might have happened within the bar. And what if within the bar, it touches it, it goes down well beyond what your stop was, and then comes back up. And, you know, based on the way that it backtests, it might not, you might get a winner or a loser based on, you know, how it does it. So then you have to look inside the bar to really know what happened, right? But then you have to ask yourself, with my strategy, how much does something like that really happen? And especially if you want to add every tick to it, it's kind of like, I mean, for our case that we're talking about here, a moving average, adding all the tick data seems silly to me. You could add seconds bars behind it, and it would probably tell you what you need to know. But then that also kind of brings you back to, well, why not just make a strategy that works on bar close and is pretty effective, pretty accurate just with the bar close? And you could do that. You could do that. Anyways, so I was telling him that. I was like, well, it kind of depends. So now really, suppose you're trading 60-minute candles. Well, don't trade 60-minute candles. And so let's respond back to him. All is well. I'm kind of a little... I don't know. They made a pretty good move down. They didn't get to where I would like to see them go. Still a little weary about where I want to take it. I want to respond to this guy. There was a rabbits? What? Oh, you mean people chasing it? Well, it's kind of interesting. We came back up. That pulled back a little bit. And now we're trading in really tight range. And we've been trading in a really tight range for several minutes. So I find that really curious. I don't know what to make of sense of that. Oh, what does Chewie say? How's the REEMF has been doing terrible? It is down. You're right. It's down. Well, we put it in and it was down like, I think that I net lost $10 on it or something. But I don't care. It can go to 0 for all I care, to be honest with you. Like my intention is to just hold it. So the only way that they get me out of that one is if it goes to 0. Because I wasn't trying to make a short-term play or anything like that. We're in it for the long haul. Now I do kind of have to wonder, how well can rare earth metal stuff do during a Democrat administration? That's kind of tough, right? But then that's where I can kind of just, we'll see. Like maybe I can buy more later on down the line. It's such a small stock that I think it can be fine. Now the other one that I've been watching, this is the one that's been really frustrating to me. Let me pull it up. The other thing is that there has been some developments in the like overall mining space that, you know, haven't been necessarily been great. So, and I think that that's been part of what's been affecting it. I was surprised though when it came down how much it did. Hold on. Oh yeah, I still have that open. I just don't want. I don't want to be in the business of stock pumping, you know. So I don't really want to make what is in my portfolio public, just because I don't want that to influence people. And so when I'm talking about a stock, I'm thinking about it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I own it or not. But the one that I've been looking at, I had some other stuff on the screen here for something completely different that I was researching. Sumo Logic. Okay, so they're having a good run today, apparently. But Sumo Logic, when I first started watching it, was at 24, I believe. And oh, you're saying, let's see here. I broke their balance sheet and income statement. It's down. It's not worth any money. They will burn their cash raising in 3 years. Well, and there's the thing though is, but were you able to factor in the impact of that legislation? Because like they wrote legislation like practically for them. Yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. This one I find interesting that it got hit so bad. So I'm sitting here wondering, like, because I went through this one and I looked at them pretty seriously, like in terms of you know, it's a brand new stock, right? So it's kind of hard to do a really, really big analysis of like their earnings and everything. But, you know, I looked at it and it was like, I mean, this company looks like it has a lot of growth and everything. So I started watching it and it was at 24 and then it just goes down. And I wonder if that's just the market, like the cloud space has kind of been giving up a lot of gains. And Gary, you say that your stock picking doesn't influence you, but it can have an impact on people. You got to remember that there's like 4,000 people that could potentially see what we say and make a decision off of what we say. And I don't want people to know what's in my portfolio. And I don't want what you guys say to necessarily influence me. I want to do the work myself. I don't want to be following other people, you know? We can collaborate, but I don't want to be following other people. So I think it's better to just not show it so that we don't create that effect, because I see a lot of creators doing that sort of a thing, and I just don't think that it's right. Anyways, so yeah, I'm just gonna keep watching it. We'll see if it comes back up to 24 or not. But I sure like their product. That Sumo Logic is the one. Now there's another one that I've been watching. Well, there's been a couple. Costco. So number of them. One was Costco. Another one is this Bausch Health Companies. I don't know if this one is actually that great, because they have a product that I really like too. But I when I started going into it, I've learned, well, the company itself isn't actually doing so great, and it's been around for a really, really long time. So that one I'm a little more like, is it a value play or not? That one's hard. Costco just like took off when I started looking at it, and so that one was like, well, I don't know if I can really. This is a pretty strong down move there now. So now they're about to the target, the downside target. Well, let's come back here and look. Where did I take that? 1525. It would have come back up past my. I don't think that it would have stopped me out, but it would have come back past break even if I had tried to hold that. So getting out there was totally okay. I suppose that I could have tried taking that short there, but I didn't see that coming. So. Anyways, to the point, the REMF one. So we started watching it somewhere around here when it was like at spot 7, right? And they got a pretty good run first before just like completely puking lower. So that's where I'm like, why did it do that? Is there a piece of news? And when you try and search about it, there's like nothing. Like it must be, I mean, maybe there's an industry thing, but yeah, that's really frustrating to, you know, or is it because of, like, as Gary said, the balance sheet isn't very good looking? Because, you know, if it's an industry, if it's going down because it's an industry thing, then what are the chances that it comes back up to this spot 8 area? I have no clue. All I know is that there's like 3 stocks that you can play rare earth metals on. So, and this is the one that is a minor. So, no, that's not what I'm concerned about at all, Gary. Gary says, please, if someone blames you for stock picking, they are idiots. You do not influence people to buy or sell, so you're all idiots for it. That's not true. I don't claim to have any kind of stock picking edge. Okay. And I don't claim to have any stock picking edge, and if somebody makes an investment decision off of something that they heard on this stream, then that's their own fault. That's not what I'm concerned about. What I'm concerned about is the building up a community and having the stock picks that you make actually impact the market at some point, especially if it's a really small stock. Because there are channels out there that are like doing pump and dump. And so that's why I feel that for me, it's really better to just not share everything about my portfolio and what my positions are. You get what I'm saying? It's not a I don't want to lead people astray sort of a thing. It's a like an honesty and transparency thing. And I don't want to deal with those issues. And so I think it's better to just not show people. That's on the stock trades. On the futures trades, nothing that we're going to do is ever going to have any impact on the market. And the trades that I make are so short term that it would be really hard to try and play off of it. And so I think that we're probably just fine. I wish I had the type of size to influence futures like that. Yeah, none of us are going to influence futures like that, at least. But I have seen cases where you could make a good case. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was realizing as I was talking to them about it that it was like, okay, so can I actually prove 100% that they did something here? And it's like, well, no, because it's not like I can see every buy and how much buying power they made and everything. But I can look at it and I can say, here's a stock that was recommended by a particular influencer and nobody else was talking about it, and then it took off. And it looks like that because that influencer bought it, a bunch of people followed in after him. And when you combine all of those people together, it actually ends up being a few $1 million, and it affected the stock. And I don't want to be in that business. I don't want there to be any possibility of being accused of, being in a pump and dump or something like that. So we'll just avoid it. I spent way too much time trying to explain that, but it's not something that I really care about. So, but I did tell you about that one. And I've told you a number of stocks that I've been thinking about, but that's where I'm coming back to it. And that's like, okay, I've played stocks in the past and I've actually had some success. But like what I learned was that the reason why I had some success was because I was pretty good at being able to understand where the macroeconomic picture was going after the 2008 crisis, to know that there was that initial move down and then a bit of recovery. And then when Obama got elected, that much further move down before it recovered. And then everybody was so skeptical about the recovery, but I was like, no, it should be fine. Maybe I was just lucky, but that's where I started to get into like, okay, like especially on a short time frame, do I know enough about these companies to be able to find an edge in them? No, I don't think so. So futures is a better place for us to play, for us to find the edges. If I ever found something about a stock that I thought the public didn't know and was highly likely to lead to it going up, and it was still public information, then I would do it totally. But haven't come across that. If you think Moderna will rally, this is a good knife catch area. Yeah, it is. Well, you see how hard they bounced off of the line down there, man. Look at this. Oh, there's going to be a Category 5 hurricane somewhere? Okay. So we were looking here for a bounce, right? That was the one that I warned Ace about. And then once they went up there, then I thought, okay, we should be able to sell it here. So we played that one really well. And then we said that it should come down to this. And then it took that one really well too. So... And then there was all this noise in the middle where I was like, I don't know, that one doesn't make sense to me. But you can kind of see how it was. It was positions shuffling around in there. Which means, by the way, that we're at another decision point, right? They're going to try and push it to here. And these guys are going to try and push it back to here. I don't know who's going to win. I don't know who cares more. But you know at least what they're gunning for and where their positions are. Which is useful information, I think, yeah. It might not tell you what's going to happen next, but it at least helps you understand what happened and why it's happening. How are you ever going to be able to predict what's going to happen if you didn't understand what happened? Now the treasuries took a really, really big dump on the news, and they've just done nothing but recover now. I guess that's in line with what the E-mini's been doing. None of us can move markets, so even to have that is. No, you absolutely can. People absolutely do. I really think that among a lot of people, and this might be the case particularly for guys in futures, like there's this assumption that like what we see on the S&P 500 and treasury futures is like what the rest of the market looks like. Nah. So then you think, oh, okay, so most stocks look more like gold, but the reality is that most stocks are even more wild than that on what their order book looks like. The amount of liquidity that is actually out there on some of these stocks, especially like penny stocks, is actually quite low. And so if you have a group of investors, even if it's retail traders, and you know they're each trading a few $1,000s in it, and they can have an impact, especially if they're using options. And then you know, things can kind of just like snowball, right? You know, maybe you just move it up a few cents, and then all of a sudden robots pick up on that, and some other big guy notices that, and you know, stuff can happen. So, and even if you couldn't, you could still be accused of such. So I say, why even bother with it? And I don't really think that I benefit from people knowing what my portfolio is. You're not focused, Seth? I'm really not that interested in trading it right now, to be honest with you. You can tell I've been going through this thing where like I'm past week or so I'm really not confident in my trades. So I've kind of been doing a little bit of distracting myself because it's like I'm not sure that this is an area that I really want to play. I mean, what we could try taking it short now that they're basically back to the range stop. That's a potential short, but I guess to really know, I'd have to be watching it. But the issue is that once I really start focusing in on it, then I'm seeing tons of stuff and I just want to take it all the time. And you gotta wonder, okay, does a short really make sense here or not? It's pretty tight right now. 05 on the downside, 09 on the upside. Trust in your skill? Why should I? If I haven't been trading very good, then we have to wonder about how much edge we have in that environment. And since this is like almost exactly the same setup that happened last week, I'm like hyper suspicious, about every little trade that I'm taking. So even the one that I caught that was good, and it was a good trade and all, but I kind of, I caught shenanigans. Could have easily have gone the other way. You say not a good idea on the shorts? Yeah, I see. That's where I'm like, are they going to go down for another new low? I don't know. They've certainly done stuff like that the past week. I guess I'm hearing that the Moderna CEO is still talking, which could cause moves too. So that's has me a little worried about being in a position too. If you're going to initiate a short, think on 30 minutes. Yeah, well, I'm looking more on the longer picture. And that's the thing is like, okay, so let's say that it comes up a little bit more. It does look like they're in the short term still on a positive trajectory. And we get above 3609.25. I might consider taking it short there at that point, and my downside would be to around 35.95. So that's about 15 points that we could potentially catch off of it. But on the upside, it could go to 35 as well. So like, yeah, 25 on the upside, it's kind of in the middle. I need to have like a really strong reason to be taking it in here, given that the risk reward isn't really telling me anything. What is it that I'm going to see that's really going to make me feel confident about taking that? Well, there's a solid down. I mean, that's one where like you'll chase it and it'll come back up and just chop around. Let's pretend that we took it at 07.25. I'll put a little mark there, okay? Let's pretend that we took it there, and then let's ask ourselves, how frustrated would we be? No, I think you're going to catch it. In fact, 03.25, it's just barely not touching it. One more, come on. And then it doesn't do it, see? That's happened to me a lot too, by the way, where it's like literally one tick. And I'm like, what? Should I be taking 15 instead of 16? Is that all it takes? You gotta admit, that's pretty sus, right? And now almost all the way back up to it. See, I know. Let's make sure we got Twitter open here. BMW's SUV, electric vehicle SUV, has a 600-kilometer range. Okay, so here's Fauci says starting April, people in the so-called general population without underlying conditions will likely start getting a vaccine. So there's your answer to that question we had earlier, isn't it? Well, we started to get a little bit of short side there, and now look, 36 to 725. CNBC's ready for Dow 30K. I really wish that the financial news would report with the S&P 500 numbers and not the... every time that they give me numbers in the Dow, I'm like, who cares? Which is funny because when I first started with technical analysis, I was all about the Dow. And there was definitely something to it where it seemed like certain technical patterns were more reliable on the Dow, but I think that it probably was all just random, just me seeing things. Ace says, agreed, no one cares about the Dow or the NASDAQ, right? I mean, I guess you could make a case for caring about the NASDAQ because those have been the stocks that have been doing well lately, but as an overall barometer, you know, if I was trying to give an overall barometer to, you know, you're a regular Joe and you want to know how well the markets did today, you should be watching the S&P 500. How do you know? Where do you get that from, Lewis? Both vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna will change your DNA. How do you know that? I don't even think that the technology to modify your DNA exists. It's something they've been trying to do for a while, and they're still only in the very, very early stages of even proving it as a proof of concept. You're dumping more money in Kodak. That thing. Oh man, come on. So many people lost money on Kodak, right? Let's see if they all get burned on Neo. seems like the same sort of a thing. It just seems like that's the one that you, no matter what you do, you're gonna get screwed over because it's just too popular. Oh, SH just asks if you think they're gonna. I don't even know what you mean by a CRISPR, SH. Maybe Lewis knows. I'm just filing that away in the. Some people seem to think this, but I don't see any reason why they would believe that that's even possible. Actually, like the whole idea that a vaccine could change your DNA seems a little silly to me. Because I think that to make a vaccine that really changes your DNA, you would need like a virus. Well, we did go through the stop finally. It's still kind of slowly trending up. Touching the outside of it. You know what? I need to do something over here on this chart. Because the price series, I don't need the price marker. Visible. No. Oh, I have it off. Oh, but it's probably on this one, huh? Yeah, there we go. Get rid of that. Okay, now I can see where my lines are a little better. So, one of the trades that I've hypothesized I wanted to look at was trying to see if you hit into the lines and there's always going to be a little bit of momentum going through it. Well, if you tried to buy 3609 in a quarter, you're not so happy right now, are you? How likely do you think it is that Bitcoin will hit 20K? That's difficult for me to say because I know that it's overvalued, but I know that they can run after becoming overvalued for quite a bit. It's kind of all a timing thing. And you kind of got to wonder, like it looks like there's manipulation to me. I can't prove that, but if we just assume that that's a scenario that's possible, how could they manipulate it up that far? Kind of becomes the question. And but I understand what he's getting. The question is, will it hit 20K before crashing again? Like, you got to understand the larger community argument that's been going on in Bitcoin. So there's a block size. So like you do a 1 megabyte block and you can fit so many transactions into that 1 megabyte block. And then the whole thing is set up so that like every 10 minutes or something, a block is supposed to be discovered, I think it is. All right. So only so many transactions can be processed every 10 minutes, which means that if you want to go and transfer Bitcoin to somebody, and there's too many people in line, there are situations where you might have to wait like weeks or months before they finally get to your transaction, because they're going to process the transactions that have a larger bounty on them first. Okay. Well, Bitcoin Cash has said, well, the intention was always to increase the block size so that you can process all of the transactions, and you don't get in that situation. And the Bitcoin maximalists said, no, Bitcoin is gold. We don't want people to be able to sell it or use it. We just want them to buy it and then hold it forever. So they refused to increase the block size, and there was a big argument about it, and they split off, and that's where Bitcoin Cash came from. The issue with that is that it destroys the utility of the coin. You can't really actually transact with it, so it really is only good for you to buy and hold. Well, this is turning out quite into quite a nice long. Now, like I said, there's a whole nother 5 to 10 points above us if they're gonna just keep pushing like that. Although I have to wonder how sustainable that just was. I actually think I can take it short. I can. The question is just where. Okay, well, that one might go through me. I'm just going to walk away from it, so I'll be right back. Well, it's almost still there. That's funny. Bank analyst puts Bitcoin price prediction as high as 318,000. This is Bitcoin is getting back into this like silly area to me, where everybody's trying to make these crazy predictions and stuff like that. Like, what? Why is anybody caring about anything beyond 20K right now? How are you coming up with those numbers, man? And I honestly, like, the whole point of that earlier thing was, how is Bitcoin ever going to move meaningfully beyond 15K or 20K without being able to process more transactions, other than the natural rise from the block size reward going down? So I think that they probably could get over 20K just because at some point, well, I mean, some point in the history of Bitcoin, I think they should be able to get above 20K just because the block size reward will make it worth that much compared to how hard it is to mine and so forth. But at the moment, they're not trading enough transactions. They're not using enough of the network to justify it on a relative valuation basis. But the traders don't care about that. So how far can they go before it blows up in their face? But I'm telling you that how many times has this happened in Bitcoin? They'll make this move going in November and December, and then it crashes until like March, and then bottoms out sometime around there and then starts going back up again. That happens so often. Just seems speculative right now. I mean, it certainly is. These are RNA vaccines? No, I don't think that that's how it works, Lewis. It's not like, so the way that it works is that they have like the stuff there so that your body will attack it and recognize it and build up the immunity to it without it actually being actively harmful to you. In order for something like that to like modify your gene code, it has to like inject the DNA material into the cell where it will be picked up by the other the protein making things that, and then that would have to then do something to permanently insert it into your gene code and swap out the spot that it needs to and stuff. And how do you do that? They haven't figured that out. Like, it's all theoretical. It's not, the idea that it's going to modify your genes sounds kind of silly to me. Okay, well. It's quite a bit. They're trading at 15. Well, overall, I think that it should have already have gone down. Yeah. Darn. Like, I saw the writing was on the wall and I just couldn't get out. Probably should have been getting to that point a lot earlier, though. My PhD in medicine is from City University. I don't understand. Like, didn't you guys learn this in your college biology course about how immunity works? Like an RNA virus, an RNA vaccine doesn't change your genes. Doesn't affect your that's not what that means. Don't they teach that in the high school biology? I don't know. I took AP biology, okay? I just know that it was on the AP biology test. Fed purchases $6 billion in treasury coupons. Well, now that we're here, I'm kind of thinking, oh, you know what? I know what it is I need to do. Okay. I'm still waiting for a good setup, you say? I know. I thought our setup short was pretty good. It wasn't terrible. We could have caught a few points off of it if we were trying. It looks like... Oh, it didn't even go 8. Didn't even go 8 in our favor, huh? Okay. Paul McCarthy is 5 months older than Joe Biden. And he has a new album out. Paul, not Joe. Oh, I did not. That is pretty crazy. How many Britons would take the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine? Asks YouGov. Likely to do so, 67%. Unlikely to do so, 21%. And I don't know, 12%. Ooh, look at that big old iceberg at 1/2 in the 10-year. What do you think of Ethereum for transactions, and can it be better than Bitcoin Cash? So Ethereum has had its own set of issues, actually. Yeah. So Ethereum has had troubles with the blockchain, not as severe as Bitcoin's, but there have been, like, when CryptoKitties was going around, that was making the network really slow, and that was a problem. Ethereum is kind of controlled by the same group of, like, maximalists. But then the other thing that's going on in Ethereum is that they want to make a Ethereum 2.0. And Ethereum 2.0 is apparently proving to be a little bit more difficult to create than they thought, for starters. But then the other issue is that they're trying to move off of the mining paradigm. So they want to move to a proof of stake instead of a proof of mining, or whatever it is. And this is really just another scheme to try and convince people to not use it, which I think is so silly. But the net impact on that is one that I'm not really sure, because I don't think that we've ever seen a proof of stake coin really go. I could, like, theorize, but that one's kind of a little difficult. So, but overall, there are a lot of things to like about Ethereum, right? So I think that the Ethereum is not a bad play. It's just that, if Bitcoin decides to go, probably the whole market's going to go with it. But what you're going to see first, or what will often start to happen around this time, is you'll start to see all of the little coins go off, right? So, I'll tell you one that I think I'll be watching. I don't think that I'm going to put my own money or power behind it this time, but Verge has done some really interesting things in these time periods, and is kind of like I think the best shit coin to play that sort of a thing with. So Verge is an interesting one. And there's plenty of other ones, like those stable coins and stuff. There's all sorts of interesting stuff always being put together. So Janet Yellen says central banks have done a good job responding to the crisis. Translation: I'd be a great Treasury Secretary, way better than Lael. It is a shit coin. I mean, you gotta admit, it's a shit coin, right? Like when that whole thing, that whole partnership with what was that, Pornhub? I don't remember. I think it was Pornhub, right? That whole partnership came on. Like, nobody saw that coming. Like, everybody knew that there was a rumor and everything, but it was almost like when it happened, everybody was in disbelief, and everybody tried to, like, discount it. Like, they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. That doesn't literally actually matter to anything. And the people just love to hate on Verge, and or XVG is what it's called. And that's why I think it makes a great shitcoin for that. Even though, because at some point there's a good chance you catch a good pop on it, and everybody will hate you for making money on it. That's what's so great about it. I mean, the only thing that could be better than making money on Verge is making money on Garlic Coin. all in on Garlic. Hey, where is Garlic Coin? Let's go check. Coin market cap. GR. It doesn't even show up in the autofill until I get an L in there. That's funny. Oh, it's up 2.37%. Ooh, wait, spot 002. That's quite high, isn't it? Ooh, it was spot 004 at one point. How you condescendingly want to put money on it, right? Well, I played it last time. At the moment, my goals are a little bit different, so I don't really want to mess with that. Let's go and see where we're at. How much money we've made on garlic coin. So funny. I bet you it's probably almost $100 now. Oh no, it says $64. I've actually been much higher than that at points. Let's see. I'd have to go back year to date, maybe. No, we have to go like way out. Reload the chart here and just take it to July 2018, let's say. There you go. That's a little better. Oh, okay. I don't know, guys. Look at that. Huh? A little bit more activity. It's a little bit better of a base. And then it's going to go like, you have one of these and one of these. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my gosh, let's get on. And all of a sudden we're at $1 again. Come on, you know. Get in now. You know, I've always thought like, oh, you know, when the garlic coin thing comes out and then I can write a book about how I made $1 million in garlic coin. But now I'm starting to think about it. I'm like, nah, actually, let's be like just cool about it, you know? Like you guys will all know, but we'll just never say anything about it. And you'll ask me, they'll be like, hey, Seth, how much money did you make on garlic coin? I'll be like, oh, you know, I made some money. It's a small YouTuber, genius trader, made $1 million on garlic coin, pretending like he doesn't know anything that's going on. That would be fun. This guy is pumping. I am totally pumping garlic coin. I gotta be careful. I should be careful because I just gave this big speech about how I don't want to be pumping stocks, but then we're pumping cryptocurrencies. Let me just be very clear. I am not I don't have a particularly strong outlook for Bitcoin in the next 3 months. So sell your house, dump it all in garlic. You don't understand. I mined that thing for 2 years. I shouldn't have stopped. Oh, man. This is a little pushback here. Sure has gotten quiet here during this counter trend time period, hasn't it? Lumber coin needs to come out. Oh, there you go. Proof of wood. Yeah. This doesn't look particularly great. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. All right. So I'm wondering if it comes back, I might try and take a buy bounce when it comes back here, but I'm not sure. It still is being awfully rangy and fickle and tight. And how many other erotic words can I use to describe what it's doing? I'm kind of starting to wonder about this last minute China crackdown that Donald Trump is trying to do. Like, how far can he realistically take that? Could that really have a negative impact on markets here? Are we like all just setting ourselves up? Or is it no big deal? So I'm a little concerned by how the market makers are treating this right now. So it's not, there doesn't seem to be like they want to go into it. How do I describe this? I don't see moves that make me think, oh, that could be informed trading. But I don't see the liquidity providers holding it either. You know, like it's ticking up and down on very little volume. Seems like it's destined for another move up. The treasuries are kind of ticking down there. Dollar's on the downturn at the moment. Oh, gold recovered that big dip. Girls' lives. You just remind me of a video I saw yesterday. Some of that protest stuff that really bothered me. I don't want to talk about it. Why did I say anything if I don't want to talk about it? That was so dumb. Okay. Are you going to break out here without me now? So stuff like that just has me like, I guess that's is not unlike how the E-mini used to move when it was really liquid and there was more like 300 lots on the level 2, but I don't know. Trump National Security Advisor calls lifting blockade on Qatar priority in next 70 days. Okay. Fed shouldn't target any group's unemployment rate, says Janet Yellen. Thank you, Janet Yellen, for being the voice of reason in the financial community. Good grief. Why is it that the Democrat Fed president would say something like that, and the Republican current Fed president is kind of toying with the idea? Isn't that interesting, huh? Sorry, I know I'm super quiet. I just don't. There's nothing to say anymore, guys. I need to be more entertaining. Can we talk about that? You know what I tried to? Oh my gosh, this is so dumb. So I was like on TikTok, and I was like, okay, well, let's try being just like completely stupid and silly on TikTok and see what happens. So there was this video of this guy where he had taken like a soap and like already pre-sliced it, so that when he cuts into it, it just like these tiny little cubes come off of it. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. and I was like, hey babe, like let's go take a shower. I wanted to show you this thing with soap. So I made that a TikTok, right? And normally my TikToks get like 100, 200 views or something. And that one, it had been out all day, and it literally only showed it to like 3 people. I'm like, screw you, it knows. I don't know how it does it, but it knows what's in it. Like, we're not showing that to anybody, Seth. I'm like, fine, I'll just stick to boring stuff that nobody really cares about. Sometimes the market is like watching grass grow. You know, it's been a really active, interesting market for so long that I really, especially in the E-mini, just can't even remember what it used to be like. I remember back when 2 points was like really good, but and it is kind of weird how this thing will be like, it's like going crazy, and then all of a sudden ranging for what, 45 minutes now? Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, okay. 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 We're breaking out. Oh, that was just a 2-pointer. Yeah, I remember when hitting a target of 3 to 5 ticks on ES was a good trade. Yeah, when I was trading like back in the 2008 on a spreadsheet, and yeah, like my stop was, I was like a 4 tick. I was like 4 tick stop, take some profit at plus 4, and I was doing it on a spreadsheet, and I intended to take those trades and hold them for several days, and I did, and I did okay with it. And now, like, 4 ticks is nothing. Of course, the S&P 500 is a lot higher than it was back then, so that makes a big difference too, but still. Okay. That last little tick kind of upset the treasuries there, I think. Are they going to start hitting into 01? Perhaps not. Donald Trump, they will pack the courts. We won't let that happen. Okay. That sounds kind of like a plea for help more than it is a... Am I wrong? I love the guy, but that one doesn't inspire confidence in me. Janet Yellen says there is no conflict between the Fed's dual goals of jobs and inflation. Okay, you're full of crap, but... wait, can anybody make that argument? Maybe Gary will make that argument for us. That doesn't sound like an argument that Gary would be on board with, though. But he might try and arguing it just to argue with me. How can you not say that there's not a conflict between jobs and inflation? I mean, there can be. I don't know if there is like right now, because I don't think that the risk of inflation is really that high. Oh, somebody is iceberging there at the top in the E-mini. Okay. Both sides, in fact. It's okay, nobody took a lumber coin name yet. Really? I'm just going to be my own central bank. Yeah, you can make a stable coin and loan it out just like Tether. Claim that it's all backed when it's not. That Tether hasn't been caught yet. I'm sure you could get away with it. Lumber coin, and lumber is a popular thing right now. I'm kind of digging this lumber coin idea, man. Glenn Greenwald. I have to say it's so infuriating when you go through life confronting prejudices, legal barriers, barring you from living with your husband in your own country, various traumas and other forms of prejudice to be flattened out into another white guy by cheap identitarians. Oh, that's an interesting comment from him. That seems... Oh, wait, there's a thread about it. Oh, that must be that was somebody else. That wasn't him talking, that was somebody else. He's quoting somebody. Donald Trump bumping the market. Goldman Sachs co-head of investment banking to retire, Greg Lemkow, considered potential CEO contender to leave Goldman Sachs. Oh, really? I don't know that guy. I've never heard of him before, actually. Okay, they ticked into me. They didn't clear me. So at the moment, I'm thinking, okay, so what are the chances of more informed trading coming in and pushing us through? And I don't know. It seems like the market makers are holding it. I should take it off. Okay, cool. Well, I wish that one that had gone 8 ticks before had worked out a little bit better, because that was like in a much better spot. I guess I would have taken the same amount on it, so I could probably be up 40 or 50 instead of 30, though. Was at least 15 points. $15 rather. Okay, well, there's still plenty of shorts to stop out if they want to keep moving. Okay, Patrick Rooney from TT posted this Calvin and Hobbes cartoon. You know what I've noticed, Hobbes? Things don't bug you if you don't think about them. From now on, I simply won't think about anything I don't like, and I'll be happy all the time. Don't you think that's pretty silly and irresponsible way to live? And he says, what a pretty afternoon. Because he doesn't want to think about that. Let's see here. Possible ad campaigns for Lumbercoin. Let me ask you a question. That's so bad. Let me ask you a question. Where is your portfolio? Lumbercoin, would you consider it? I'm totally in on Lumbercoin, man. Yeah, the more riots, the higher Lumbercoin goes. Well, what we've got to do is we need to find a way to tie the value of Lumbercoin to the actual lumber market. That's what makes it exciting to me. At the moment, it's just marketing. But this, the thing is, we can say that it's just marketing. We can say that it's going to be tied to the lumber market, like that we're going to work on it and have a plan, and then never actually follow through on it. That's what all the other cryptocurrencies do, right? So make all these big promises about what they're going to develop, and then they don't actually develop anything, right? Just saying. They did hit into the one. I was right. I should have taken that one. I'm like, are they informed? So let's, you know what? I said I was going to check the correlation thing. Let's check it. Because I was wondering, if I come over here and I make a new chart, I was looking at it on a 1 minute chart. But if I come in and I do it on a much smaller basis, seconds, 1 second, candlestick plus plus, 1 and 1. Okay. Cool. So if I do that, oh, well, that's as far back as it will let me zoom out. That's funny. Okay. And then I add, let's try, well, we'll try 2. We'll add ZN and we'll add NQ. So there should be like really strong correlation with NQ, right? NQ. Also 1 second. Okay, cool. And now oops, I need to fix that. NQ should be 1 and 1. There we go. Okay, cool. And now I come back in and I add our correlation indicator. I'll add it twice. Correlation. This one will be ZN 1220. And this one will be NQ 1220. Okay. So this one is not moving and this one is moving, and it tells me that there's no correlation there. Now for seconds, we probably would want to have way more than just 10 seconds of correlation, right? So let's try 60 seconds of correlation. 60. And here in particular, with the NQ, negative correlation there. And here, opposite correlations. And positive. Now it's like not doing anything because the treasury's not moving. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that you had to ask a question. Thomas, what software would you recommend to track the stock market? Depends on what you're doing. There is no one solution that is best for everybody. I am using NinjaTrader 8 and Jigsaw, and I have a whole video about it, including I have an affiliate link for Jigsaw if you're interested in trying that one. But the thing about Jigsaw is that it has the best depth of market, I think. I really like the platform. It also has charts, and so it's getting there. But the reason I like NinjaTrader is because I like the programming, and I think they have a really solid framework, and programming in C# is really great. And there's a lot of custom stuff out there available for you. Now, the downside on NinjaTrader right now is that the backtester keeps crashing on me, which is really annoying. But only if it's only because I'm using really big data sets. I got some RAM coming. I was going to make a video. And have it out today about Bollinger Bands. But as I was making it, I kept having that issue. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's just wait for the RAM to come on Tuesday and see if that makes a difference. Anyways, now a really popular one among my subscribers is Sierra Charts. And the cool thing about Sierra Charts is that you can, there's not a whole lot of startup cost. You can just start, and it's something like $35 a month for the advanced version. And that's pretty nice. That's pretty good. By the way, are you still using NinjaTrader Ace, or did you switch back completely to Sierra now? That must be why he's not trying my indicator. He doesn't want to tell me. He doesn't have the heart to tell me that he can't use it anymore. How about a video, the difference between Bollinger Bands and Keltners? Actually, I was thinking about including that. Oh, Ninja 8 still not why I worry about my CPU. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be the CPU that really has the issues for me, at least. It's the RAM. But it's just the back testing is so annoying. I don't know. We'll see what happens. If I get that and that works, then what I'm going to be thinking is, okay, How do we get a Threadripper? How do we spend $2,000 and get a Threadripper? Some of my Overlord's indicators are so data heavy it crashes playback all the dang time. Really? Huh. I don't know. I mean, like, my inventory cost basis is heavy. I would really wonder what they're doing that would... I would expect that computing tick replay would take a long time. Like, when you load the chart up and it's trying to do the tick replay on the whole days, that probably takes a couple of minutes for that to load for you, huh? But once it's running, I wouldn't expect there to be a huge load on your CPU. Do you run it like, you know, if you're running it right now, if you open this up, what would your CPU say? Mine is 50% because I'm encoding with my processor. Gary asks, Ace, do you still love me? Your love affair with Seth is making me jealous. I explained this to my therapist. The funny thing is there might be some truth to what he's saying. The way he acts, at least, it's like maybe there's some reality to it. He probably is going into he's probably goes to his therapist and he's like, I mean, I really like this Seth guy, but we just bicker and he's so stupid sometimes I just can't stand it. And I don't know why I like him. That's got to be what his therapist discussions are like. If that's really what it's like, I apologize for laughing about it. It's not funny. You know, we're all going to living in a trailer in Teos, right? I want like if I was a multi-billionaire, I would want to have a house. I think it would have a nice sunroom for the birds. And then I think that it should have some extra guest rooms so that we can have people come stay over, do apprenticeships sort of a thing. That'd be fun. Fed bids for 6-month bills total $6.9 billion. Not affecting them too much. Okay, so I don't know how useful this correlation thing is on the super small time frames. Maybe let's try a different chart. And let's just close this one. But the thing that I'm looking at that I'm like, when I see that and I'm like, oh, no, duh, is correlations ebb and flow just like everything else. So if you're sitting there and thinking, okay, I don't necessarily want to take it unless they're both moving up together. Well, you might be catching it just as the correlation is meeting its peak, and then it's going to subside after you take it. And then you're like, oh man, every time I try and get in a correlation trade, it doesn't work out. The correlations change on me. Whereas if we went and instead we said, these should be correlated, and at the moment they're not, and this one would be theoretically undervalued in that basis, and we can buy that one, and maybe that would work. But when I look at the chart, it looks so random to me that I'm like, we could probably backtest that, but I don't know how accurate my backtest would, because it seems like something that's like a super tight edge. Like that seems like a real HFT kind of strategy. Right, Patrick Rooney tweets, retweeting Schlepic, says the S&P 500 is up 11% year to date. Bitcoin is up 128% year to date. The VIX is up 65% year to date. Gold is up 23%, and the 10-year Treasury notes are up 7%. It is kind of amazing to think that every investor is winning in 2020. Yeah. That can't go on forever, can it? As far as CPU goes at peak use, I have like 8 NinjaTrader charts open. Go-to meeting in the room, Camtasia. It's a lot. Yeah, well, it probably is a lot, dude. But I would still expect that with all of that going that you wouldn't hit 100%. Whereas what happens to me is like I'll be back testing and it'll be going along okay until I run out of memory. And then when I run out of memory, it just chugs. And you would think that, it should be able to still go. It's just it'll have to take time as it caches stuff to disk and so forth. Well, yeah, you would think that. But then NinjaTrader will just crash. And that's my problem. I agreed. Do I want it to hit 100%? Is that or no? If it was hitting 100%, then it would be like, okay, let's get you a new machine. Now would be a good time to build one. If you want to build one, we can do that. I'll go. I'll make sure to get you the leotard and everything. So do I need to get more memory or a better processor? How much memory do you have? Based on how old you told me that the machine was, that the processor probably is pretty old. Look at him go. There they go again. Could have just stayed on. They didn't really come back much at all at that time, did they? Okay, here, I'll show you how you look at it, Ace. So you come into my file explorer and you go this PC and you right click on that. To make this come up, you press Windows E. Windows E, this PC, you right click on it, properties. And then it will come up and it will tell you some things about the system. And it should tell you right here what processor you have and how much installed memory you have. So I have 16 gigabytes. If you have less than 16 gigabytes, adding more RAM probably would help you. If you're like 4, then how are you handling that? You got 16 and you think you need more flan? Yeah, so I've got 16 more coming. So we'll see what that does. Okay, so I guess the Dow has now hit its all-time high. When I upgraded to 64 and NinjaTrader can get as high as 35 gigabytes usage. What? How are you doing that, Steve? I can't do that. So close that. Control Shift Escape brings up the task manager. Okay, you can also do Control Alt Delete Task Manager, right? And then there's a Performance tab. Okay, my NinjaTrader, and mind you, I'm using a pretty expensive tick replay indicator on almost all of my charts. Okay, and I'm only using 800 megabytes. Now, what will happen is I'll start doing the back test and it'll like start increasing. It's like there's a memory leak or something, or it saves, I don't know what it is, because it shouldn't be requiring more memory usage on every iteration. It should be writing those results out to a file and then, But I think that there's something wrong with the way that it's designed. I'm positive. And then I can get to like 12 gigs. And once I get to 12 gigs, then the whole thing just seizes up. So how do you get it to go to 35 gigabytes? When I add indicators to the 5-tick order entry series, it starts to hog a ton of RAM. Only issue during optimization. Oh, you're talking about when you're back testing. Okay. Well, when that happens, does NinjaTrader become unresponsive and prone to crash, and you just sit through it, and eventually it will start using more, it'll start putting the stuff into the cache and it survives? Because for me, once I run out of physical memory, things just stop working. Okay, he's got a... He used to when I had 16 gigabytes. It was awful. It never seemed to load to disk. Oh. So how much memory do you have right now, Steve? So do you have like 64 gigs of memory then? Oh, it says 4 gigabytes. Yeah. So we could 64. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Steve. That potentially answers some questions that I've had. Yeah, more memory would make it a lot. You probably need a new machine. So we could probably build you a reasonable machine for less than 1,000. I was pricing them out. There's actually ones online that you can get that are. Shall I show you how I go and I pick parts? I mean, that's not anything special. I'm sure that a dozen different people could show you. PC part picker? Yeah. Can I just add more memory to this one? You might. It depends on how many memory modules you have. On a machine that old, there's going to be a limitation on how much memory you can get. So like here's a modest Intel, here's a great AMD gaming build. Let's start with that one, shall we? Because this one looks great. Okay, so what did they put in it? Okay, so they've got a 3600, Ryzen 5 3600, which is great. Okay, the motherboard, we could maybe find a cheaper motherboard. Okay, but see here he's doing 2 8 gigabyte. Yeah, so I mean for Ace, because he's not back testing, 16 gigabytes is probably right about where you want to go. And a good solid state drive. What is he doing for the video card? Oh yeah, so we don't need the video card. So let's see here. How do I customize this part list? Okay, so here we go. So it's going to change it. So now we're going to say we don't need this video card. What we need, choose a video card, is an NVIDIA GeForce 1650. Oh, wait, 1650. There we are. 1650. All right. Wait. 1650. Okay. And PNY, MSI. Can I only get them for, there's still 200. That's like way too much, but we'll just go with this one, which doesn't really matter, right? Okay. So this is a reasonable machine already. 851. Now, let's see here. How much are we spending? Okay, the case, it's a Corsair 79. I guess that's okay. We could maybe do better on the drive. Let's see. Oh yeah. No. Let's do it, but get a better Get a better storage. Choose storage. We want like a well, we want an SSD, but we want one of these. Okay. There we go. How about the 970 Evo? Yeah. That's what I've got. Now, motherboard. Well, let's just check motherboard. So there are some cheaper motherboards available for us. You could get like a ROG Strix. That'd be a great That's a great motherboard. Well, let's just see like what's the cheapest on the Asus side. You can get a B450? Huh. Wait. Sort by price. Huh. Okay. But then let's just say that we do 7. Let's just say we do this one. I don't know if that's a good motherboard or not, but 73 plus 268. Sorry, let's use a calculator here. 73 plus 268 is $341 on the processor and motherboard. Now let's go to newegg.com. And we'll look for CPU Mobo combo. There we go. The cheapest one that they got, the cheapest combo they've got right now is $459. Boo. Well, there might be some better deals when Christmas comes along. You can watch that. So if we see a motherboard processor combo that's anything that's like around a $3,600 and it's less than $350, that's where I think we should go. So the gist of it is that we could build you a new machine for around $866. Let's see here. So what are you saying? That is only 19 points on the ES. I think of price every time in terms of the ES milk gallons. Oh, right. I gotcha. Yeah. And then you got to get did they sell these? I thought that they did. Oh, they make them for babies, but apparently not for people. That's funny. Don't worry about it then. Forget I said anything about that. Clark says, wait a few months for Ryzen. Yeah. After, I'm sure that there's going to be some steals here this holiday season. How do you know it will work? Ninja bugs on my 10th gen hot. Yeah. So that's where you gotta think about like what you got running and stuff. And normally I really do not have problems with NinjaTrader. Like when I get my workspace set up and I just leave it alone and everything works fine. But if I start adding some funky custom indicators, sometimes those can do dumb things. Or, you know, some people will add, like, I've seen some people where they have like 20 charts and they all have volume profile and tick replay turned on. But that'll start to take up space. You know, but that's when you'll get like 2 gigs worth taken up. A laptop, I really can't recommend the laptops. So if I was going to get a laptop, I would recommend going for a business focused one. So probably a Lenovo. And you want to make sure that it has good media playing capabilities. Okay, so it is time for me to get going. It does look like the E-mini is maybe turning down around. They finally took out that range, so this is a spot where like they push down a little bit further, and if you're still bullish, you could buy it. Otherwise, it will reverse. And downside is 36.15.25 and 36.09.25. The upside levels are so far away that they're almost not even worth considering. But that's what I said on Friday, and they went up and got them. So I don't know. ThinkPad X1 Carbon, that's pretty good. Just be careful about the ones like you I would really just go for like those workstation ones, like those T whatevers. You know, you want to go for the business laptops, the workstation, the workhorses, and because a lot of these other ones are geared towards like being the lightest and having the longest battery life. Don't trade on battery. Straight up, don't trade on battery. Because that's where it'll throttle the processor and you have latency problems. Anyways. Okay, what should we call today's video? Markets. Skyrocket. Again on vaccine headlines. 16th. Have a good day, you too. I guess we made $30. It could have been better. It should have been up in the 50s. So it wasn't too bad of a day. Could have been worse. I guess I was cautious and it paid off okay. So yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. And in the meantime,